Welcome to Life Happens, where Texans come to protect their legacy and prepare for the second half of life. Join your host, attorney Kim Hegwood with Hegwood Law Group, and our weekly guest as we navigate the challenges that emerge as life happens. Now here's your host, Kim Hegwood.
Good morning. Welcome to Life Happens with me, Kim Hegwood, and our very special guest today, Larissa Carlson. Good morning.
Good morning.
And so I'm sorry I was laughing, coming on. I was doing something really stupid. And so I'm so glad that no one could see it. So today we're going to talk about something really interesting. And so we're going to talk about practicing mindfulness when caring for someone with dementia. And so that's a different word, in the sense of what most people hear when they think about, doing, caring for someone, and things like that. So I'm really excited to have this conversation with you today. So I'm super glad that you're on. And most people understand, meditation and, but what's the difference between, mindfulness and meditation? How are they different?
Mindfulness is more broad. Mindfulness is commonly defined as non-judgmental, present moment awareness. And so it's really a state of mind, being present to what's happening in any kind of activity. So we can mindfully wash the dishes, mindfully take a walk, mindfully groom the dog. It's all about being present, being focused, being calm, and being aware. And that's really different from meditation. Meditation is a set of very specific concentration boosting techniques, like watching the breath or repeating phrases or doing walking meditation. They are techniques that are designed to enhance focus and concentration or boost compassion or insight. And so the meditation practices are often done in a more formal seated position, whereas mindfulness can be done anywhere, anytime.
So why would this be, helpful for caregivers?
Well, mindfulness and meditation have both been proven by modern day research to help so many of the common challenges that caregivers experience, including stress, caregiver burnout, resilience burnout, having digestive woes, trouble sleeping, feeling overwhelmed, foggy headedness, lack of clarity, feeling any kind of stress-related experience. And so by boosting the mindfulness in the day-to-day living, a caregiver can do practices that boost resilience and enhance overall comfort, ease, peace, and tranquility, no matter how chaotic and intense the caregiving duties are.
So, my first thought, in doing this is how long does it take to learn to do this? Because this is something that you have to do continuously. So
That's right.
how long does it take to learn to do that?
Well, there are many techniques, but it's important to find a technique that feels like a good fit and build up some skillfulness with that one technique. And so sampling a few different types of mindfulness practices can take 10 minutes, 20 minutes, just to experiment and play and feel it out. Just like experimenting with different styles of dance. There are many, many different styles of meditation and many different styles of dance, and so you want to play around and find a good fit. And then once that fit has been established or confirmed, what research has proven is that consistency of practice is more important than duration. Consistency is more important than duration. And what research has also proven is that mindful minis are more beneficial than long mindfulness practices that happen now and then. And so a caregiver can give anywhere between 2 and 10 minutes a day to mindfulness practice and start to see benefits. And so it really doesn't take much time. And what I've found as a caregiver myself and an end-of-life doula and teacher of mindfulness is that we can take back minutes that are often seem like they're lost during the day. and apply mindfulness. So, for instance, as a caregiver, waiting while our person is in the restroom or in a doctor's appointment or sitting in the waiting room at the doctor's office, those are minutes where a caregiver can actually be focusing on breath, bringing positive thoughts into the mind, doing some gentle mindful movements to loosen up physical tension and tightness. We can actually take back from the busyness of life or sneak in little mindful moments that truly make all the difference in feeling at ease.
So is it something that, a caregiver can learn very quickly? Because, most of them I've met, and I know I felt that way, very overwhelmed and can't handle one more thing. And so, is it something that they can really learn to do quickly to get them through the process?
It absolutely is. There are lots of online resources for learning mindfulness techniques. I have a 10-day course where each day is only 10 to 12 minutes long. And a caregiver can simply hit play and be guided through an experience like a breathing technique, a body scan, a practice of mindful journaling, a practice of repeating positive phrases, things that will immediately help to deactivate the sympathetic nervous system or the fight or flight nervous system, which tends to be on overdrive when caregiving, and help to reestablish the governing state of the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the rest and digest system. So caregivers don't have to make time for mindfulness. Mindfulness actually has a very wonderful and magical way of creating more space and more time in what can often feel like a jam-packed schedule.
So, COVID really kind of threw us off our game, and made caregiving just that much harder. So, I know for me personally, my caregiving days have been over for a little while, at least till the next generation comes, till mom needs it. But I found that mindset really worked on mindset the last few years, because that to me was hugely important to get into, a better frame of mind, get rid of all the toxicity that's in our environments, and really work towards, kind of a more of a positive, kind of upbeat, outlook. And so, how can we help caregivers who want to learn this? And so, because I know, and I tell you all the time, I'm like, oh my gosh, one of the best things I did was stop watching the news.
Right.
Something so simple, because you can find out stuff. It's not like you don't hear things. There's other ways, but really getting rid of the negativity. So how can we? What do we tell caregivers? Hey, this can help you, and how do we get them to really embrace the idea and put them in the right direction?
Mm. Well, it's really a two-pronged approach. The first is to eliminate or reduce the impressions that are causing additional stress and strain to the mind, to the nervous system. And so entertainment is a big one. A lot of caregivers that I know start and end the day by watching the news, or like immediately go right to their phone and start scrolling. And that can flavor the day with disappointment, fear, anger, frustration. It just sets up the impression for the day, whatever we see first. And so one of my biggest go-to recommendations for caregivers in eliminating or reducing negativity is first thing in the morning, don't immediately go to stimulating technology, but instead begin the day by waking up gently, looking outside, taking a look at the weather outside the window, perhaps standing out on the deck or the porch and taking in a few fresh breaths, and setting the impression for the day with one's own intention, instead of in many ways getting slimed by the intention of the news media, for the day, and getting hit with that and then carrying that all day. So set your own intention for the day by giving 10 minutes, an hour before, looking at technology, whenever that's possible. And the same thing right before bed is to avoid stirring up the nervous system right before bed with things that can be disturbing and frustrating and irritating, or just looking at emails and knowing that there's a longer to-do list the next day, you know? And so to give a little bit of space between the last time one looks at technology and when one shuts one's eyes for bed is really helpful. I like to do a little bit of journaling or read something positive right before bed, and that can really help to take away some negativity. So that's really step one of the approach. Step two is to then cultivate positivity. And this is where mindful practices come in. And there are so many free online tools that one can access right from a smartphone or a computer, iPad, so that a caregiver can, at any point in the day, during a commute, at the waiting room, while preparing to head out for caregiving duties, can simply hit play. One of my favorite places to do this is on Insight Timer, which is a free mindfulness app, and it can be accessed right from the phone. And there are tens of thousands of free mindfulness practices on there. I'm on there as well, and I lead mostly secular or non-spiritual mindfulness practices. So simply following the breath and boosting positivity and doing mindful movements that reduce tension and pain and discomfort in the body. And they're all short little mini practices, so they're really reasonable for the busy caregiving schedule.
So why don't you do me a favor and just kind of give us an example, that a caregiver can, because they're watching this, that could, they could really be helpful for them, if you don't mind.
Sure, absolutely. So wherever you are, you can put things down and find a nice comfortable seated position. Maybe uncross the legs and rest the feet firmly on the floor. If it would feel good, you can rest the hands on the lap. And take a few moments to elongate the spine, taking a position of poise and grace and elongation, is lifting up out of the rib cage, getting nice and long. And then draw the head back a little bit farther away from the screen. Tuck the chin just slightly to lengthen the back of the neck, and let the eyes soften or close. And begin to deepen the breath, breathing in and out through the nose if that's comfortable. Letting the breath stretch out, lengthening the breath, both the inhalation and the exhalation. And begin to layer on a count to the breath, inhaling and exhaling to the count of 3. Inhaling and exhaling to the count of 3. So find a tempo that feels good. You can slow it down or you can speed it up, but keep the inhalation and the exhalation at about the same pace. And just feeling for the refreshing nature of each inhalation, drawing in fresh air and oxygen and energy. Feeling for the soothing, relaxing nature of each exhalation, letting go of tension and tightness. Let's take 2 more rounds, inhaling and exhaling to the count of 3. And at the end of the next exhalation, release control of the breath. Take a moment just to feel the effects in the body-mind. Notice if anything has in any way softened or relaxed or eased up. Then let the eyes drift open if they've been closed. So Kim, that's a simple example of a mindful breathing mini. That can be done in a waiting room or while preparing food for our loved ones. It's a very, very simple, very effective practice.
I found that something that was really simple and taught me a few things. I got my Apple Watch because I wanted some of the health things on there. And every now and then the breathing thing comes up to remind me I need to be breathing, deep breaths, things like that. So you learn really fast. You do that when you go into the dentist office because it lowers your blood pressure when they check it. because you're got a little anxiety, but it's really good to really focus, on those things. And so we're talking about your mornings. I moved out to the country, so first thing I do is make a cup of coffee. I like to sit with my first cup of coffee and not really do much of anything. So I get up a little earlier to do that. But just being able to look in the backyard and really see, just nature. Sometimes it's just really, it just starts your day off well, in that aspect of it. And so, well, Larissa, I appreciate it immensely of you being on the show, and I hope that we can have you back to do some more things for our listeners. And so, because this has been really beneficial. And so, you take care and enjoy the rest of your day. And how does people find you if they want to do more with you? How do they find you?
They can find me right on my website, larissacarlson.com, and I have free mindfulness practices for caregivers, free audio tracks. They can just hit play at any point. And also find me on Insight Timer under my name, Larissa Hall Carlson. And those tracks are all free as well for caregivers. And my 10-day course is available on both Insight Timer and my website.
Perfect. All right. Thanks a bunch. You enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. You too. Bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of Life Happens with Kim Hegwood. Be sure to tune in every Thursday at 10 a.m. wherever you listen to your podcast as we navigate through the challenges that emerge as life happens. The content of this podcast does not establish an attorney-client relationship or constitute attorney-client privilege, legal, medical, financial, or any other professional advice.